Okay, and then cd into the project status. All right, so I'm going to open this up into code. I'm going to open up Postman as well. Let's kind of get set up here. See, I kind of like that how we had it yesterday where I was splitting Postman and VS Code. Okay, and then in my, I'm just going to split my pane so I have two panes in my terminal. I'm going to start my server. Let's do it on port 3001. Cool. And then, so I have my server running. Let's just review what we did yesterday really quick. And I'm just going to do this by looking at my routes. Something that's going to have the most information. So command P, let's go to routes.rb. Okay. So we have 5 routes defined. Let's just look at the left side, that our client can request. We have 5 requests. We have a get request to artist. We have a get request to artist/ID. We have a post request to artist, a put request to artist/ID, and a delete request to artist/ID. And those are our CRUD actions. There's kind of 2 reads, one to get all of the artists and one to get one artist. And then on the right-hand side, this is just telling us, when we get these requests, where should we go? Like which controller and which method. So if we do a get request to API, what did I call this? Artists. Oh, that's the wrong URL. So API artists. And there it is. There's my 2 artists. I can grab one artist. I just need to make sure I match the ID of one of these. There's one artist. I can do a delete. So it's API artist and then the ID. That one's now gone. So I need to go ahead and grab artist 3. That one's still there. I can do a post request to create an artist. And with this, I would need to, go in and change these values. So I need a artist. So this is always when I'm doing this in Postman, it's going to be the name of the model and then the name of the attribute within the curly square brackets. So artist. What was it? Fans. I forgot if we added validation. I think we did. So if I don't have anything in there, we get an error. I also think we also had a validation if the name has to be unique. Cool. So I can create an artist And then here with the ID 5, I can go ahead, switch this to a put, and I can update the artist. Cool. So within this project, obviously our Rails app can have many models. We can have many controllers, and for each model, we're generally going to have its own controller. So I'm quickly going to go through the steps of your homework last night. Just a little review. So this is not meant for you to follow along coding. So I would just say, just go ahead and watch. If you have questions, feel free to ask though. So I want to create, and I'll just do this here, I want to create a author model. Author, and what an author had like a name, which is going to be a string, right? And then did it have an age? Should be an integer. So those are I have a model, and I'm going to want to have to keep track of the name and the age. Cool. So to do this, I would do a Rails G model author, and then I give it the name of the key, which would be name, then the type. And then I give it, I'm going to make this go over here. I give it the name of the key, which would be age, and that's an integer. Yeah, and all this command does is it creates some files. But it's nice because it puts them in the right place. It timestamps this migration, and it stubs them out. So I could go in VS Code and create all these files, but why would I when I can just use this nice little helper method? So if I look at what files have changed, I have this author.rb. There's that. I have a routes.rb. Well, I made that change right there. I have this migration that's new. I'm just going to do it here so we can see it better. So this is, remember, when we create a model, we create the instructions or the migration to, how do we create this table? So this is a function to create the table and also like to delete it technically, because it's changed. So we can actually remove this table with this migration. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for the migration. Then whenever I create a migration, I need to migrate my database. And that actually goes and creates the table. So now my schema is going to be changed, and now I have an authors. I can see I have authors data. So I now want to create a controller, Rails G controller. I'm going to append this with API so that we kind of follow that convention. This is going to put it in that controller's API folder. And I'm going to make this plural, authors. And once this command just creates some authors. So now I might want to like go in and, create some authors. I could do that in the Rails console. So I type Rails C. This opens up an interactive Ruby shell. So I can now type Ruby, but I can also interact with my Rails program. So now I can do like author.create, and I can come in here and I can create an author. So now that creates an author in my database. I know it's in my database because it has an ID, and then I can exit out of here. Now, Rails C is a very useful tool for debugging. It's nice. You can go step into your database. It's going to be nice when we're like experimenting with the has many through. We can go in and kind of look. It's like, it's like a sandbox where we can actually change our database. But I think a better option is your seeds file. And the reason I like the seeds file is I can come into here and write this code. Let's look at his name. Okay. And now this is like, now I know what I'm creating. I can like hard code this. We'll actually see next week, we can use like dummy data. A seeds file is a great way. Like maybe we want to create like 1 million authors. In Ruby, I could do like, Ruby has a nice little method. This is an awesome way to write a loop, right? This actually works. 1,000 times do. What do you think this would do? This line.
1,000 Stephen Kings.
Yeah, it would create 1,000 Stephen Kings. And what we'll do next week is we can go in, we can use a library to get like a fake name. We're not going to do that today, but eventually we could use some like fake data, use a function to grab the fake name and do like a random. There's another nice method in Ruby, random 0 to 99. Just give me a random number. But for now, we'll just keep this straightforward. So now I know every time I run my seeds file, I'm going to create 2 authors. And just something you may or may not want to do this. I like to, destroy all of my things before I create them, just because now I know when I run my seeds file, I'm going to have 2 authors. And it's nice to know what data you're working with when you're kind of testing. So that's the seeds file. Now I can come in here, I can run rels db seed. So that creates my artist. And then, I could once again step into my Rails console to see if this worked. I could do like my author.all.
Cool. How come the other 2 above didn't get put in or generated?
How come the other 2 didn't get generated?
Yeah.
You mean the artist?
Yeah, back in your code, don't you have 2 other artists?
Yeah, they're there. Artist. So that's another model, artist.all.
Oh.
So I have 2 different models now. I have an author model and a artist model. Yeah.
Got you.
Cool. Sweet. So yeah, now my model's more or less done. If I wanted to in my, authors controller, or sorry, in my author, if I wanted to add some validation, I do that in my author model class. So that's author.rb. I could do like a validates name. See if I can presence. That's not, I can never, how do I spell that word? Presents. Yeah, we'll see. So something about the Rails console, if you make a change to your code, you need to restart your Rails console or it's not going to work. It's not going to apply the change. So I can do an author.create. I'm going to store this to a variable so we can look at it. Does it tell me, how can I spell present so wrong?
P-R-E-S.
P-R-E-S, is that right?
Yeah,
And then C-E at the end.
Okay, okay.
There you go.
Sweet, so I make the change, I need to restart my console. Let's create this author again. So author.create, I store that value to a variable A. I can do a.class. It is of type author, but a.id is undefined. So it hasn't been saved to the database. I could do a.errors. I could do a.errors.full messages. And there it is. That's just going to be an array of all the errors. So name can't be blank. So now I can add in my model like a validation, you know, about, and there's tons of validations. I could make, maybe say it can't be longer than 20 characters or can't be shorter than 3. So there's that. So now that's just everything I just talked about was with my model. I haven't done anything with my routes or my controller. That was all just my model. So your more models, we're doing like validation. We're saving to the database. We're reading from the database. We're creating to the database, all those things. So now let's step into the controller that we created. And let's actually just do this one at a time. So let's go to my routes. And you know, I'd say by this, so this is something, once again, this is really important to know. This is something you almost just, you know, have memorized, because this is going to be the exact same thing for our authors. Essentially, we're just going to change one word. Instead of artist, it's going to say authors. So let's say I want, and let's hide all of those. I want to, let's set up the getting all authors. What's the method for that? What's the HTTP method? If I want, because I want to, it's a get. Yeah, what's the route?
Authors.
Authors.
Authors. Where is that going?
Authors. Pound create.
Not
Get
create.
or index. Authors pound index.
Index. Sorry.
Yeah, it's the index method. Cool. So I'm saying, hey, as this API, if you give me a GET request, or like if I receive a GET request / API / authors, I'm going to direct that to the authors controller and index method. By direct, I'm going to like direct the flow of control to the authors controller. So in the authors controller, now I need to define an index method. And here I'm going to render JSON author. So now I can go to, so let me ask you this. Do you think this is going to work? Did I forget anything? Got my route defined, got my model defined, got my method defined. What do you think? Yes or no? I think it's going to work.
Should work, yeah.
Unless I have a syntax error, which is highly likely. Okay, so I do a GET request, localhost 3001 API author. That's not going to work, right? That has to be authors. I did have an error. Okay. What do you think this error is?
Your server isn't running.
Yeah, my server's not running. Rails S-P 3001. So now I have this is local, like I have it listening. So my server is listening like for requests on this, you know, site. So it's listening. I hit send. It gets that request. It takes me to the index method. My controller, hey, it goes to the author model, says, hey, author, will you give me all of the authors? The author model says, yep, will do. And then the controller gives back that JSON. And there we go. There's my array of authors. Let's do from here, let's go backwards. Let's do our show method. Okay. What do I want to do in my show method?
You just want to render one author, right?
Yeah. And how am I gonna get that?
ID.
By ID.
The ID. And how do I get the ID? Starts with a P. By the params
Yeah.
that I have.
Params ID.
So let's do this. Let's do artist render JSON. Let's do this. Artist equal. Let's find the artist. Artist equals, artist dot find params.
Okay.
And then we can render JSON artist. Okay, so I have artist 2. I come in, or not. Ooh. Okay, yeah, let's do this. So I'm going to go to API authors /2. What error am I going to get? Or am I going to get an error?
Well, you didn't do anything in your routes.
Yeah, I didn't do a route. So what is that?
That's just gonna pull up your. It's just gonna show your artists, right? Because you did define that in your routes.
Well, I'm switching my URL. Okay, so if I go, I'm doing API authors and I'm adding the 2. So I'm giving it like what I think is a valid.
Oh, it doesn't exist.
So this is good. What kind of error is this? What number is it?
404.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
going to be a 404 because this route is not defined. Okay, let's go to my routes. Let's go define that. Let's do a get to authors to. Wait, what do I need to add here?
Author's ID.
ID.
And that needs to be called ID, right? Because in my authors controller, I'm getting params ID. So that needs to match what I'm calling it in the params. So I'm going to take that to the authors show. Is this going to work now?
Have you done your?
It's still artist.
Have you done your prepend API thing though?
Yeah, these are all within this.
Oh yeah, you did that yesterday. Okay.
Yeah, so those are all within those, so they're being prepended. But yeah, there's one little error that's going to happen. I heard it because So I'm going to go ahead and hit send. Couldn't find artist with ID2. Wait, what? I go to authors.
It's because you only have.
I have an ID2. I have an author with ID2.
It's because when you were setting the definition in your authors control, you use artist.
Yeah. I'm using my artist model to, I'm trying to find the artist with ID2. Author model, artist model. I want to use my author. Do I have to change this variable name?
It'd be smart.
It'd be smart to, but I don't have, it would work, right? Now I'm getting back Stephen King. So yeah, I should call this. It works, but that would be very, very bad to very confusing. So I should call that author. Cool. So that's working. Since we're here, I think let's do our delete method. Let's do this from our routes. I'm just going to copy and paste this. What's going to change here to make this to set up a route for a delete, to delete an author?
You have to change get to delete.
Yes, this needs to be delete.
And then you need to make up a name for your method.
Yeah, I need, right? I can make up any name for this. What's the conventional name in Rails?
Destroy.
It's destroy. Yeah. I could call my method X, but yeah, it is. We're going to call this destroy because that's just kind of the convention. And that's good, right? The author, if I'm deleting an author, I need to give it an ID. Let's just call this, just for demo, bad name. And maybe this will kind of show why this is a bad name. So I go to my authors controller. I'm going to do my def delete. And how do I find my author here? Because I need to find that author to delete it.
You have to find it by ID again.
Author.find by params ID.
I think so.
And then we can render JSON. Yeah, let's do render JSON author.destroy. We'll call the destroy method on that particular instance of the author class. So now I'm just going to need to switch. So I do have an author with ID 2. I'm going to switch this to a delete method. The action destroy could not be found. So I call this delete.
Define it as, yeah.
I need to call this method destroy. So that's that error. The action, that was not intentional. So I go fix that because that should be called destroyed, because that's what I called it right here. Go to the author's controller to the destroy method. Sweet. So now it's destroyed. Now it should go to the right place. And now I'm getting this, I'm getting an active record not found, could not find author without an ID. Well, I'm doing it right here, right? Params ID. Let's render JSON just so we can see this. Let's just render JSON params. What does params look like? Where's my ID in there?
Don't you have to define authors params? I guess you haven't used that yet.
Not quite. I see my ID in this request because I did authorship. Yeah. Bad name. Okay, so sweet, there it is. Author.find params.
Oh, so that would have to be bad name.
Bad name. That's what I called it right here. So that's, you know, in my get, I called it ID. So it's params ID. Here I'm calling it params bad name. So now I can hit send. Oh, I need to actually render JSON author.destroy. Send that. Cool. I send it again. It doesn't work because I deleted it.
But then if you do a get, it should be gone, right?
Yeah, if I did it, if I switch that to a get, cannot find author with ID 2. So it doesn't work. Cool. So, but you know, last week we did, or yesterday, not last week, yesterday we did this. We had a private, we had in our private section, we had a def set, you know, it was all artists, but for now we're going to do a set author method. And I did this. Right? Where I'm creating this method that just sets the author before each of these methods. Well, I don't want to do them before each method, right? What methods do I want to do them before?
Update, show, and destroy.
Yes, update, show, and destroy, because those are all my methods where I need to find the author. I need to find the author to update it. I need to find the author to delete it, and I need to find the author to show it. So it's going to be only, well, right now we only have show and destroy. So now I can make this a instance variable,
That's
right?
not spelled correctly, destroy.
Oh yeah, this story.
There you
Okay.
go.
So now I can get rid of this, right? Because I'm doing that in my before action. And now I can get rid of this because I'm doing that in my before action. Let's just comment that. Let me comment it out so we can see it. I can go and just use my instance variable. So now let's get authors API 3, right? Oh, I have syntax there somewhere. No, it's right here. I'm forgetting a comma somewhere. For each.
I don't remember if set author had to have a yeah, that might be it actually.
What?
Something-
I think it does have to have a comma after said author.
Or is it after only? I can't remember.
What is it? Before actions. Do I not have that right? Okay, so it's before action, set author, and then there's a comma there.
There you go.
Undefined method before each. No. Oh wait, I did. Okay, before action. Yeah, I did. Sorry. Before action. Brain fart here. This happened, like I haven't been writing any Rails for like 3 weeks. So
So is before action like predefined
yes.
in Ruby?
Yeah, it's like a
Okay.
it's kind of like how params, like in our controller, params is going to be defined. Params
Yeah.
is not going to be defined, in like our model. And like in our model, we have, so these are called callbacks. So we can do like a before action. There's also like an after action. In our model, if I go to like my author model, there's one's like before save. It's like before validates. So we can like do all of these like checks, like these callbacks before or after things happen in our code. So there's a whole bunch of them. I don't want to go too much into them right now. Just trying to keep this simple. But let's do the before action. So I want to, before action, I'm going to call this method set author.find params ID. So that works. It's called yo. So I click send. There it is. I'm doing a get request author/3. There's my parameters. There's my ID called yo. Okay, cool. Set the author. Let's do this. Set author. And then in my show, I could say like return. Put it down here. So let's return author JSON. So we can see the order of these. So I click send. Set author. Cool. Well, now we're actually finding the author right here. This is a SQL call. So that's what's going on here. We're doing the SQL call to find the author, and then we return author JSON. And we can like save this code so we don't have to duplicate it. So now I do the delete. Is the delete going to work? Can't find author without an ID. Why does this break? Let's look at our params. So here's my started delete request, API authors 3. can actually come in here and look at my parameters. I mean, we just saw this like 5 minutes ago.
Because it was, you know, it's not called ID, it's called bad name.
Yeah,
So it doesn't know which one the ID is.
yeah, because this, I'm trying to reuse this logic author.find params ID. So I better make sure in my routes file, that is ID. Getting it? Really, if you need to be able to explain every single word and every single line in this file. There can be no, maybe you can go ahead and skip this part. This is just saying, go through and make all these routes. So that's what that line's saying. Just go through and make all the routes. Like every word, everything here is critically important, right? And then once you get really good at it, and once you know what it's doing, and once you have it memorized and you know all the CRUD actions, we could have just done resources authors. And this is how you would have wanted to have done it, and resources artists. But until then, like write this out, because I feel writing it out, when you write this out, really say it in your head. If I do a get request to authors, it takes me to my authors index. If I do a get request to authors :ID, I'm going to go to author show. And then in my author show page, I'm going to have a params ID, which is going to be the thing in the URL after authors, after that backslash. Because this, we're going to get into an inception in just a bit with the nested routes. So it's, and we'll get more, I think the nested routes really make us kind of understand this. Cool. All right. So we need two more. I'm just going to do these a little more quickly. So let's do authors controller. So I want to do a def create. This is going to create an author. So I come in here and do author. Does this need to be an instance variable?
No.
No, because I'm really just going to use it in this method. So it doesn't really matter. So really what I want to pass this is I want to pass this like a hash that has like a name and an age. Let's just show it this way. I could do it this way. I could say name is params, or actually let's do this. Let's render JSON params. Again, just trying to demystify some of this stuff. So there's my create method. It's just going to render the params. Let's go to my routes. This is just going to be a post to authors, and that takes me to my create method. So now I can do a post. I can go to API/authors. I can send that. Here are my params. This is from like, yesterday. So I want to go in and I want to change this. So I'm going to send the name of the model, author, and then the name of the attribute, which is name in this case. I'm going to do author, and then this one I want to be age. So I'm just rendering JSON params so we can look at it. Like, what does params look like in the controller? So here's params. Params, what kind of thing does that look like in Ruby? What kind of data structure?
Is that a hash?
That's a hash. So how would I get the name in Ruby? If this hash is called params.
Params.author.name.
That's close.
Probably not written like that, but
You had the right idea, but remember with
That'd be like authors _params.
it's not
maybe.
dot, it's the params. With a hash in Ruby, we access it with like the symbol. So it'll be author. Name. Let's just do author. If I render JSON params author, sweet. There's my author. I could just do like author. I'm being lazy. Let's say like A equals, author dot create. Grab my params. Boom. Think this is going to work? Let's try it. 500 error. So if you see like a big old 500 error and it's a little unreadable, go check out your controller. Doesn't like, I've actually never tried this before. It doesn't like how I'm sending this. So forbidden attributes error. Okay, I should be able to do this like name params author if I want to grab the name. There we go. That worked. I could come in here and hard code the name, like name is params author name. That actually created that to the database, right? And then I could do age is, go to my params, author, and age. Let's save that. That one has an age. So that's working. That works, but you know what, if I don't give it a value, well, now it's not going to try to like, this is just probably going to break. Well, it doesn't really break. See, this would give me back a 200 status. So this is one of those bugs that like it works, like nothing's breaking, but this is a bug, right? Why is this a bug?
because an author should have both a name and an age.
That's, well, okay, it
Well,
should
it
have.
doesn't have an ID either.
Yeah, I do have a name validation, so it should have a name. I don't have an age validation. Maybe we don't have to have an age. Okay, that works. But yeah, if I don't give it a name and I give it an age, so what I'm saying here, this is working. Like my code's not breaking.
Did that get added to the database if you were to go look?
No, this did not get added to the database. But if I was the front end person, I maybe think it would. Why would I think maybe this would be okay if I was the front end person? Or why might it be a little confusing?
When you're not getting any errors.
Yeah, you have to set an error.
Yeah, I'm not getting any errors. I'm sending back a 200 response. So we get back a 200 response when it was for like a post request, if it was successfully saved to the database. Now, I can get back a 200 response It's not like Rails knows that it was successfully saved to the database or not. I'm not telling it. Like I need to tell it if it failed. So what we do is we don't create one to the database. We just create one in memory. And then we try to save it to the database. If it does successfully save, then we can, render JSON. We can say, hey, that worked. And that will be a 200. Or I could render JSON and, more importantly, I'm going to give it a status 422. So now when it gets this back, it's going to send this back. I mean, it's going to send back whatever I tell it to send back. This one's just the object that was not created, but more importantly, it's giving back that 422 error. That's going to cause the front end to like break. So as a front end person or as the client, I see the 422 and I know it wasn't saved successfully. But what I should do probably is like be nice and maybe send. I could just do like a.errors.full messages, like send them back something. Let them know what happened. So I did it this way, render JSON a.errors.full messages. Yesterday, we wrapped this in a hash and did it this way. What's the difference between those two?
It's gonna mention the error.
This is, so in this response, you can really think of this is going to be your res.data that you get back from your Axios call. Or it's technically an error is going to be your error.response. But just by throwing it like this errors here, now I'm just going to have to drill into it and say like res.data or error.response.errors. If I
Wait,
don't,
so what's the difference when you have it in the bracket and when you don't?
it's just how I'm sending it back. So, because I'm just creating a hash right here. So I could send it back like that. So now to get to that array, I would have to do like, the res.data or error.response or whatever response I'm getting back in my front end. It'd be .errors.x. There it is. Like I'm.
So without obviously the X and the errors, you wouldn't have to put the extra dot errors dot X.
Yeah, but now I would because I'm being mean and I want to say you have to go to errors.x.
All right.
So yeah, but yeah, I maybe just want to do something like that. All right. Because yeah, maybe also I want to like send them back, the author that they gave me. So there's the errors and there's the author, like there's the author data. There you go. I'm not going to do that either. Just send that back. Cool. So now let's go to our update. Or actually, let's look at this. So this is one way I could do this, but now if someone doesn't like give me the author in their key or they give me something else, like this is going to lead to maybe potential stuff breaking, and maybe people trying to be malicious, throwing things that I don't want. So instead of just doing this, what we do is we sanitize our parameters. We do like params dot require. Now I want to make sure params has author, and I want to permit name and age. I can do that again. Now if I hit send, where did I screw this up? So I have a server error. Whenever you see server errors, get off your Postman and look at your server. Probably give you a little more information. I mean, it's in my, because this is going to tell me, it's in my create method, line 24. A.errors.full messages. I swear it's not there. Oh, I spelled full messages wrong. I did full message. I must have deleted that accidentally. Okay.
Now, at this point right now, they can still create an account under the same name, right? Because you haven't did the uniqueness and the other one yet.
Yeah. So yeah, so I can sanitize these parameters, but and that works. So what I want to do is, since I'm going to use this in my update method as well, I just throw this in a method called author params. That returns that, and now I can just call that inside of here. And now with my update, I don't need to create a new author now because I already have one, because we're going to find it. So I'm going to use my @author. So this one does have to be called @author because that's my instance variable down here that we find. And then I need to use that. So if we update author params, and we kind of do the exact same thing we do with create. Cool. So now I can go in, update an author /5, switch this back so it's normal author name.
That author params is just, it's just saying that it needs to have an author and that the author needs to have a name and an age.
Yeah, it's going to say in our parameters, we need to have a author param, and inside of there, it's going to allow age and name. So this has to be there, and age and name can be there. Anything else, it's going to filter out. So we weren't able to see it because now I get a routing error. So no route matches post API authors. So I actually want this to be a put, right? Because this is an update. Once again, though, that's still no route matches because in my routes file, I never defined this route. So that's going to be a put request to authors ID authors.update. Now that's defined. I can send undefined method nil for nil class. Once again, 500 error, go to your server, line 29. It's going to help me find that in my authors controller. Okay, why do I keep calling this artist? So I called it artist. Wait, no, that is my artist controller. Let's go to my authors controller. So line 29, it's saying this is undefined. Why would author be undefined? Or where do I need to check? Because there it is right there, right? What do you think I forgot to do? It's up at the top.
The before action.
Yeah. I don't, I need to add the update.
Or you need to set the author.
Yeah, because I want to set my author in the update method. Cool. So now that's calls that function. Sweet. Now we finally updated that. Let me just show you the, okay, so to review, to create a model, Rails G model, you give it a name. We have a thing model, and then we give it attributes. We give them the type. Whatever. Load. Cool. There's our model. We migrate. To create that model to the database, we create a controller, Rails G controller.
Now, just to get more of an understanding, what is the migrate doing again?
Just watch. So, because I'm going through this really quick, we generate the controller API things. So I have a thing model. I have an API things. Okay, there's that. If I go to my routes, just go ahead. I can take all of these routes, things, cool. I can take my authors controller, go to my things controller, copy and paste that. Do a command F for author, switch that to thing. Let's do case sensitive. Switch that. Yeah, yep. Okay, let's also find all the uppercase A's. You can switch that one, can switch that one, can switch that one, that one, that one.
Doesn't the thing need to be capitalized too?
Which one?
The
Ooh, this one
the
does.
T.
What line?
Just all the ones you switched
Did I
from.
switch?
Create needs to have capital.
Oh, that needs to be a capital. So I might, let's see, this one, that one looks good. This one looks good. I'm gonna just get rid of all these comments too. Create. I mean, let's just make that. That doesn't technically have to change, but let's just do it. Update at thing params. Set thing. Oh, this one does need, that needs to be uppercase. Okay, I think that's good. So let's do a get API things.
You need to start a server.
Don't need it. Cool, that's working. It's empty. We just don't have any things. Let's do it. Let's create one. Actually, there's one thing I forgot to change. What do I need to change down here? In this area.
Name and age.
Yeah, that was the name of the things, like ATR1, right? And ATR attribute, whatever attributes. Those go there.
Also, I think you forgot to change one of the things in your routes.
Okay, let me double check that. Routes. Things.
See
Yep,
authors.
yep, right there. Thank you. And that was the create one, so that should have. So let's do a post. So I need to change this to thing. This to the ATR1 thing. tr2. Cool. And that created. Let's try doing a get again. There's my get. Post. Let's create a couple things. Send. Send. Okay, so we can create. Let's go ahead and delete thing /3. Delete that. Let's go ahead and do a put. Changed. I don't want to, I've deleted 3, so let's change that to 2. That's changed. Let's go ahead and get 2. It's been changed. So you can really easily copy and paste things and get stuff working in Rails. Right? But it's very important that you know how this all works. So I think you can get into the habit of, and people do this all because I'll have students at the end who can't like explain what's going on with like a controller, like a basic like one model controller or the routes file, because they got into the habit of probably just looking at the notes or looking at the video and you know, just kind of fudging things to get things to work, because it's very easy to do that here. So that's going to kind of hurt you. So spend some time to, you know, really understand what these are doing. But yeah, once you feel comfortable, then you can kind of start just copy and pasting stuff, or, you know, do the resources or do some of like the little helpers from Rails. Cool. Sweet. Let's take a break. I know there was a question about the commands. I feel like I had a post in Slack that I want to repost. But let's take a break. Let's come back at 11. Yes, here's the thing. So these are what these commands do. And let me clarify the migrations, because migrations are definitely the more confusing one. These run your files in your migrate folder. And really what these are doing is they are, they do a couple things. They add tables to DB. They can, I should say, they can add tables, or they can even remove tables to DB, you know, add columns. Add, remove columns. In a sense, they maintain, they kind of maintain state. We'll talk more about them later, but for now, they're maintaining, dude, how did I spell maintain? They're maintaining like what our database looks like.
Thank you. I understood it. I just wanted a more general understanding, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
If you want to understand, migrations are something we have to spend more time on. It's kind of hard. It's a little more complicated. For now, just know when you create a model, we create the instructions in the migration folder to create the tables. So we need to run the migration to actually run that migration folder to actually create the table in the database.
Okay.
Cool. Sweet. Yeah. I'm gonna hop back on. Let's come back at 11.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.